Welcome back once again to Luke Blues Talking. Do not worry, you're in safe hands as we edge ever closer to episode 50. Joining me tonight, we've got Lawrence Nelson and Brian Martin, while we have not one, not two, but three special guests coming later as well. We'll also look at the defeat to Elgin at the weekend. We'll look ahead to Edinburgh City this coming weekend and plenty more to discuss along the way. Lawrence, you obviously were on commentary at the weekend. Firstly, did the right team win?
Yes, absolutely. I think be selfish for a minute and focus on my performance. And I think you got everything from me. Frustration. Kane Hester was offside. Nah, he wasn't actually. He was significantly onside. Was there a foul in the box for Kyle Girvan's winner? Absolutely not. Still would like to. I've no doubt we'll discuss it. I would still like to discuss the penalty, but great save by Max Currie. I think the bottom line, and everybody in the Stranraer camp, underneath the stand at Stair Park at full time said it. We we just didn't do it on the day, and you heard Tiff saying afterwards we got what we deserved from that, and it's not all doom and gloom. What an unbeaten run that was in the
Yeah.
league. It wasn't going to go on forever, so I guess the big test now for the players and the manager is put that behind us. Can we kickstart another wee run?
Dean Cleland opened the scoring, Brian. At the time, and I've watched it back since, but at the time, it was a goal that reminded me of Dean Hawkshaw's against Elgin a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah,
Same opposition, same end of the park, where I don't know, the keeper just seemed kind of wrong-footed.
I know that's the goal that you're talking about, the Dean Hawks. So that's who I can remember. It was a type of goal like that. Dean on Saturday just seemed to waltz through the Elgin defenders and placed it. I mean, they didn't even challenge him. I
Mm.
don't know whether it was too tricky for them, but they didn't challenge him. Uh, I've wrote down for the game fine lines, and that game was decided on so many fine lines. We'll get into it later on, but there's a couple of things happening in the game. Stranraer could easily went two up, and Elgin is a long way back. But I thought it was a carbon. You were there, Cammy. I thought it was a carbon copy of the Spartans game. We
Yeah.
score early, we drop back. Only this time they scored before half time, which changed the game completely. And then in the second half, again, nothing much happened apart from two saves, one for each keeper, and Max picking the ball at the net. But it reminds me so much of the Spartans game.
I'm 100% not blaming him for this, Lawrence, but the chance Dean Cleland had to make it 2-0, we're 2-on-2. He kind of makes his way around the two defenders, but then unfortunately lifts his shot over the bar. As I say, not blaming him in the slightest, but you fancy if that goes in, different ball game.
Absolutely. If that had gone in, as Brian says, it's fine lines. Had that gone in, suddenly it's 2-0. And Elgin, I would argue there was as much in the game as we were, but if you suddenly find yourself 2-0 down, it's a hell of a way back there. Really not going to have a go at Dean, because I think we look as if we've unearthed a talent that we've
Yep.
managed to get on loan. You talked a minute ago about that first goal of his. I think he actually had the Elgin defence and Elgin keeper perplexed. He was running forward. Brian and I were thinking, is he going to play it to Plank? Is he going to play it to Lang? And he just looked up and kept going and shot. And I don't think either their defence or their keeper was expecting a shot from him. I think likewise they were expecting the pass left or right. And I think when you come back to the one you were talking about there, the right thing to do would have been to switch it slightly left. Darren Lang was in tons of space, nobody in front of him but the goalkeeper. But I guess if you're Dean Cleland, you've scored one, you see that opportunity, you think, I'm going to try and get another one here. So I don't blame him at all. But you're absolutely right. Had that gone in, I was thinking going into the game on Saturday, what a beautiful. I was watching the Stranraer highlights and I was watching the Edinburgh City highlights. And Edinburgh City playing the torrential downpour. We'll come to them later on. Stranraer, it was the sunshine on Lime, but it got a bit gloomy later on for us, unfortunately. But had that gone in, aye, it would have been dancing in the sunshine.
Too easy.
Ridiculous. Look at this.
He's onside. He's onside.
He is offside. That is offside.
It looked offside, right enough.
Yeah, he looked absolutely offside.
You kind of mentioned it, and you've said this before, Lawrence, in terms of if you're on commentary, that as much as you want to see the highlights the next day, there's also the kind of not a fear, I guess, but kind of I wonder if I got things right because obviously at the time you only see it once. It's as simple as that. as we said, I'll go to Brian about this as well, but the penalty, offside, you've already said, probably not offside. The penalty, a little bit more up in the air.
Yeah, the offside one, no. Joe McGrath was clearly playing Kane Hester onside, but actually by looked like a good couple of yards when you saw it afterwards. It's the angle you're at, you're getting caught up in the game, you get in your head, I'm sure he's offside, and you keep going. I think the lesson for me is shut up, just let the events happen and then say what has happened, and then stick in a wee sentence saying, I wasn't sure if he was onside or offside there. Let's see it again tomorrow. Penalty incident, likewise, I think this one was, so the offside was more on me than Brian. The penalty one was more on Brian than me. He was like, that's never a handball, never a handball.
Elgin bearing down.
No, you're not going to hand. Oh, no.
Really?
Oh, referee.
I mean, fundamentally, I've got an issue with the modern handball rule. You can hit the ball at a player from 5 yards away and immediately scream handball. Did it hit Lewis's hand? Yeah. Was his hand in an unnatural position? That's more open to question. His hand was down by his side, but it actually was out by, I don't know, less than a foot, but out enough that the referee saw it out, if you know what I mean. I think it's a harsh penalty, but going by the way penalties are awarded these days, aye, it was a penalty.
I think as well, Brian, that there's the issue that because players are aware of that, you often see players, they'll try to move their hand out the way, and therefore it almost makes them look kind of twice as guilty because all of a sudden their hand has gone from kind of being near their side to being in an unnatural position. Your thoughts on the penalty and the handball rule as well?
Aye, well, I watched Sky Sports on Monday morning. It's quite funny it happened, and one of the pundits says that the handball rule is making a fool of fans. They don't know what a handball is these days.
Yeah.
And I thought, the first impression, how is that a handball? And I've seen it in the replay. I says, what's he supposed to do with his hands?
Yeah.
He's running in a natural position, but yet, and all the Elgin players, look for it, which is quite obvious that they're going to do. But I just can't. I don't know. I watched a replay between the highlight story between Clyde and East Kilbride, and there was a much more obvious handball against East Kilbride, and the ref didn't give it. The ball bounced up, knocked the boy in the hand, and his hand was fully stretched, but yet the referee didn't give it. I says, so what's the difference between Lewis, who tried to avoid it, and the boy put his hand up, and the ref? I think it's a ref's opinion, isn't it, on the day? And if he thinks a penalty, well, but I was saying to my son, I thought Russell Dingwall was the referee's carer because he never left his side all day. He was moaning, and the referee's a young boy, and I think Dingwall knows this. I was saying to Lawrence, we'll go on to it later on, it's the second half, but I thought Dingwall was a disgrace at times with the referee, and he got Dill Forrest sent off a couple of seasons ago, and I think, of course he's the villain. He likes to be like that, but I think his attitude at times. Hester wasn't much better, right enough. Hester was more in the referee's log our game, but it was a penalty. It was a good save by Max, so probably move on.
The one thing, sorry to go, Lawrence.
Move on, Cameron. Still on the penalty. Again, it comes back to what do you do if you're commentating? Do you say that was a very good save by Max, which it was, but equally, I thought Dingwall just didn't hit it with enough fizz. But it can be both. It wasn't hit fast enough, but actually, it still needed a very good save to stop it. Brian, while we're on that, I think I've got the answer to the, is it a penalty or is it not a penalty in the handball? The players are all going to have to pretend they're Irish dancing. You can see the girls with the arms tight by their sides and just dancing up and down. So I think we need to get Big Lewis into an Irish dance class.
I suppose, and I've not got any reason to stand up for Elgin, but obviously Russell Dingwall's the captain. The captain's allowed to speak to the referee. Is he the one in the team that should be most in conversation with the referee?
I agree with that, Cameron, but surely every minute of the game, you see them following the referee a bit, to change decisions and do this decision. And as I say, the referee is quite young, and you've got to think he's strong enough, to look past that. And I mean, I'm quite sure Dingwall knows the time of day with the young referee, and he maybe thinks if he gets inside his head,
You
you
know what,
know,
though? Russell Dingwall, we've talked about him before. He is never knowingly uninvolved. He's involved in every game we play against Elgin, and he's either the hero or the villain. And I guess to stand up for Dingwall, it's like the scene in The Commitments where the band bring in the big thug as the bouncer. And I can't, we better not do the language you get in The Commitments, but one of the girls said, sure, he's a thug. But the guy says, yeah, but he's our thug. And maybe, Dingwall's that hero villain character, always involved, always in the centre of things. Maybe we're just a bit jealous that he's not our nutcase in the middle, if you like.
mm,
I suppose it works both ways as well, Brian, that there'll be plenty of referees that, rightly or wrongly, if you speak away to them continually, the referee will be like, yeah, very good, you're getting absolutely nothing out of me because you're moaning at me for 90 minutes. And
mm.
equally, there'll be some referees that you say, how was that not a foul? How was that not a foul? That maybe puts again, rightly or wrongly, puts that little bit of doubt in their mind. At the end of the day, they're only human, same as us.
Yeah.
And with the penalty, I guess, a bit like yourself and Lawrence, referee only sees it the once as well.
Yeah, I mean, he thought, I don't know how it came to the lino, the decision. I don't know, because he pointed to the spot right away. Whether the lino's saying pen, I don't know, but he did point to the spot right away. But I'm still confused with this handball rule. I really am. Probably
I've
will
not
be until
convinced you.
No,
no.
do you know what? I'm still confused with the handball rule. So am I. And maybe, to be honest, we're making the job harder for referees by the way handballs are dealt with in this day and age.
Mhm.
The second half, probably a bit of a non-event, really, Lawrence, and to all intents and purposes. The winning goal, it's not going to win goal of the season. It's not going to win goal of the month. It probably didn't win goal of the day, to be honest. But at the end of the day, they all count.
It was the whole interaction between Big Kyle Girvan and the crowd. At the end, he came up with a big cheese and with a big grin on his face, and there was the instant boo from the Stranraer fans, a former Stranraer player. Fair play to him. He was in the right place, the right time. Um, you know, Max Currie produced a good block in a crowded goal mouth. And as Brian said, he said to me since then, basically that ball could have fallen to any one, three, four, five Stranraer defenders, but it fell right to Girvan. He just had to poke it home. Probably the easiest goal the big man's going to get, but it's got them 3 points. To come back to what you were saying at the second half, I actually thought Stranraer came out better after half time. We went back to 1-1. We came back out with a bit of purpose at the beginning of the second half, but we just didn't really look like adding to it. And it felt a bit like, I wasn't at the Spartans game that we won, but it felt a wee bit like what you guys were saying about that, in that we'd gone 1-0 up and we failed to push on. And on Saturday, we failed to push on at 1-0. We tried to push on when we came out after half time at 1-0, but it just didn't happen. And it looked, to be honest, as if the game was petering out into a 1-0, which probably would have been arguably okay for both sides. But nah, fair play to Girvan. He got the late winner, and no complaints. I think Elgin probably just edged that in terms of deserving the win.
In terms of the season so far, Brian, I think it's 3 league wins at Stair Park, 5 wins on our travels. How times change.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement. We're not winning enough games at home. That's why we're not, challenging for even second or third place. We're just not winning enough games at home. We've drawn quite a lot. We've as you say, Carmen, we've won 3. Probably beating the Spartans is as good a result as you'll get. Having watched them last night, I thought they were pretty good against Stirling, although Stirling were woeful. But it was a good result. And then I agree with Lawrence. I think a draw would have suited Stranraer on Saturday. You're still would have been 4 points in front of Elgin, who I think now are looking Stranraer's strongest challengers for that. Even third place. I don't think Clyde are away yet. I think Elgin will be the main contenders with us for fourth place. I don't really rate Stirling. Fourth are okay. Annan they've went back a wee bit, but it's one of those things. But I think I don't know. Can I just go back to the first half, Carmi? I know I'm going back the way, but I was talking about fine lines. You know, if Don Plank sees that ball into row D in the stand, I know he's got to keep it in, but if he sees that into row D, we're in at half time 1-0 up, but he keeps the ball in. Matty Gillis isn't strong enough to keep Gallagher up. I mean, Matty, that is the worst place you can lose a ball in football, is about 35 yards for your own box, because the defence aren't ready. And it was a nice ball for Gallagher to Hester, who was onside, but I don't think Stranraer guys will want to watch that goal again. But back to your question, we're not winning enough games at home. There's no doubt about that.
Now I know we've all cleared our diaries for this point. I'll start with you, Brian. We'll settle the debate once and for all. You gave Beejay Coll man of the match on Saturday. It's the topic that seems to get the most conversation from Stranraer fans. So let's settle it once and for all. Your thoughts on the Coll-Ekrapont conundrum?
Well, I think Coll, I mean, it's been said that Coll's probably just a wee bit better defender, more experienced defender than Ekrapont, but Ekrapont gives us more going forward. And I mean, as I've said before, how can Tiff change a team who's not lost? Now they've lost on Saturday, so we'll wait and see this Saturday to see what he does. But I mean, I think I said last week. I mean, we've only conceded. I think that's now. Is it 4 and 5 games we've conceded? I think I'm right. So I mean, the defence is absolutely fine, but I mean, Finn has got a great left foot, and we know that set pieces, corners, which is another thing. I think Cap McKnight should come off corner duty. But anyway, that's another debate. But I mean, they both get good things, as I say. Ekrapont going forward, and I suppose with Beejay Coll not going forward as much, it does leave Plank a wee bit exposed on the left hand side. But I mean, I'm not against Beejay Coll in any way. I'm either or. I mean, I think they're both good players. But a lot of the people seem to think that Ekrapont should be playing. Well, I'm quite sure he'll get his chance in one of these games coming up, either on Saturday or against Dumbarton.
Some top quality sitting on the fence there from Brian Martin. I'll come to yourself, Lawrence. What are your thoughts?
My bum's starting to get a bit uncomfortable as well. I mean, I've bought into this conversation during the season. I think Finn brings us a wee bit more going forward than Beejay does. I think Beejay is arguably the more experienced defender. I would say what we missed, it's funny, people are saying we're missing Finn. We're not necessarily missing Finn in terms of defensive abilities, but when we're missing him is for the set pieces. And Brian's absolutely right. The corners on Saturday were completely unproductive. They were awful. But that sounds harsh, but they were awful also on a day when the whole team was a bit out of sorts, if you like. But we missed Finn for that, and we do miss him when we get the odd free kick. I'd be quite happy with either of them in the team. So from that point of view, yeah, I'm going to continue to sit in the fence. I think Finn's a victim of the fact that actually we've got such a strong squad and that we've got cover in each position. And at the moment, unless you choose to use one of them as the goalkeeper or as the number 9, Tiff's stuck with this decision as who to put in this week. So I get people's moans and groans. And by the way, you're always going to get more moans and groans when we've just lost a game.
Yeah.
If we'd won that one 2-1, yeah, you'd get the odd moaner, but by and large, people would be, that's fine, another win, another 3 points.
Just to put it in perspective, Beejay Coll started 19, come off the bench in 11 games. Finn has started 21, come off the bench in 5 games. Putting you on the spot this time, Lawrence, if you were a betting man, which one do you think will be starting on Saturday?
I honestly don't know. And the reason I'm hesitating, I would have said, if we got something from Saturday, don't change it. There's 2 things going on here. The manager might want to change it because we've lost. Equally, he might want to change it because we've got 3 games in the space of 8 days, 7 days. So this does feel like sitting in the fence, but I agree with Brian. I think they will both feature at some point in the next 3 games.
Well, with all that in mind, Lawrence spoke to Beejay Coll on Saturday after full time.
Beejay, I'm guessing that it was a frustrated dressing room at the end of that one today?
No, definitely. A bit of a sickener, but fair play to Elgin. I thought to be fair, they deserve the 3 points, if I'm being honest. Don't think we've done enough to win the game or even come away with anything. I think we just don't need to be too disheartened. We're on a good run, so put this to bed and then try and continue the form that we have been on.
Do you think it was a fair result today?
I think first 20, I think it's the exact same as last week when obviously we go and win. Yeah. But I think the first 20 of a game we could be 2, maybe 3 up, and then Elgin build into the game. And then I think obviously they miss a penalty, which is never a penalty. Reedy's hands are by his side. And to be fair to Max, I've seen Max do that many a time. It's just disappointing to lose that goal and so late on when it's been us, it's been on the other end of it.
But it almost feels a wee bit like I wasn't at last week's game, but going on reports, going on what I've seen in the highlights, that we didn't manage to kick on after we went up. Actually, last week we nicked it at the end. This time, Elgin nicked it later.
I think that's testament to how strong the league is. To be fair, I think anybody can beat anybody on their day. And to be fair to the boys, like to go 11 games or 12 games unbeaten is brilliant. Like, and that's what the gaffers drummed home there. Like when we're on top, we need to, especially at home, because I don't think we've won enough games at home. But like that has been his main point. Like when you go on top to get another one, because that could prove to put teams to bed really.
In terms of the big long unbeaten run we've been on, do you think in some ways that's put pressure on the players that it's almost like you can reset now and start again?
Well, I think before I think the last time we get beat was the East Kilbride game. Is that right? I think before that it was maybe 10, 11 games as well. So I think we just can't be too disheartened. Like we're on a good run, we've been beat. Let's go and push towards the playoffs.
And I think it's 8 league defeats given the start we made to the season. That proves the run that we've been on.
And I think that's testament to the squad we've got in there, because I think everybody's played their part. I think every player could come in and it doesn't weaken the starting 11. So, and that's credit to the gaffer, the background team. But I think the first quarter, everybody was disappointed, but I think nobody panicked, especially on the gaffer, because you knew in the games, like the moments there, like just it was we fine lines, we moments in games that was costing us, but now the run we're on, we've put ourselves in a good position, and I think we're still in 4th. So I think we just need to try and kick on, just try and keep it in the playoffs.
How easy is it? So you're watching what the gaffer's doing. How easy is it to avoid frustration with players? Because you know yourself, those times of the season you weren't getting game time. Now you're in the team. How difficult is it watching just to get the jigsaw right?
I think that comes. I'm more experienced now with age. I think if I was younger, I'd be a wee bit more disappointed. But I think you need to be professional, because when your time comes, you need to make sure you're ready to play in the team. And to be fair to the boys, like look at last week, look at the celebrations. There's subs there. The boys are that haven't played in a couple of weeks. And I think people need to don't forget, like, this is a new group. This is probably one of the best dressing rooms I've been involved in. Everybody's so close. Everybody wants the best for each other. Even like me and Finn in training are always helping each other. We're really close. So I think that's testament to the gaffer, to be fair, to bring this group together. But the team spirit just is growing. I don't think that's why I think we've went on that run, so I don't think that's a surprise.
I mean, even the team photo after the whole Queen's Park business underlines it. It's good to see that.
And that's the thing as well, like, nobody will take that Queen's Park game away for us. We won in penalties, won fair and square, so, and to be fair, as soon as we knew the outcome, straight away, the gaffer's like, right, we're going out that day, it's not going to damp our spirits, we were meant to play there. So, and to be fair, that's not everybody made it, there wasn't one person that wasn't there.
Edinburgh City away next week. It's been a venue we've done decent at this season and last season.
Yep.
I don't know if it's we like playing on Astro, we like playing at Meadowbank, whatever it is.
That's just another game. I think Edinburgh City was, obviously we beat Dumbarton, and then Edinburgh City was really the start. We started kicking on. But it'll be a tough game. They are a good footballing side, to be fair to them. And if it wasn't for the points deduction, I think they'd be up right next to us. So the boys will be looking to bounce back and try and get 3 points.
We'll go again.
That's it.
Looking at the bigger picture, Brian, our last league defeat was against East Kilbride in November. Everybody's obviously disappointed following the result on Saturday, but important to keep things in perspective.
Oh, absolutely, Carmen. I think if somebody said to you, against East Kilbride, that's going to be our last defeat in the league, for 3.5 months, they'd bite your hand off, wouldn't they? So we've had a great run. And as I said last week, our total of points in this quarter is now 10. Even if you get 4, in the next 2 games, it's 14, which is playoff form. Our I was just looking. We'll go into Stirling Albion in a second, but they've now played 27, and they've got 31 points, so they're averaging 10 points. So you can basically say they're out of it, to me anyway, because they're not good enough to win 6 and 7 games, as Lawrence would probably tell you on last night's performance. You know what I mean? And so that, to me, what they've got to win that, because I'm quite sure it's going to be 52, 53 points for the playoff place. And to me, there's no way that Stirling Albion team is winning, 7 games? No chance. As same with Annan, they're going to be averaging 10 points a quarter. So they've got a lot to do in the final quarter. That's just why I'm saying Elgin. I think Elgin and Stranraer are the strongest position. And I still don't think we're a mile off Clyde. We play them twice in March, and they are going to be big games. You know, if we beat them twice, you know, if they beat us twice, but I mean, you know, if we beat them twice, you know, it's game on for third place.
One defeat in 15, Lawrence, in all competitions, and that was against a championship side in Ayr United. As I just said there again, disappointed obviously to have lost on Saturday, but we've been on a great run. And I think you mentioned earlier, it's all about how we react now.
Aye. Who knew we had a Pythagoras on the podcast, all these mathematical equations about points per quarter? Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fantastic run. And, you know, you were saying who knew that East Kilbride defeat would be our last one in the league for, 3 months or whatever. And actually, we came away from that East Kilbride defeat at home feeling as if we'd got a hammering. Okay, it was only 3-1, but that was the one where John Robertson just had fun against us that afternoon. League Two is a funny old league. I mean, look at Alan Hale. 3 weeks ago, the Elgin fans were on Pie and Bovril saying, nah, his time is up. He's got to go. Now they've won 3 games in a row. And actually, by the way, I think he's a smashing manager. Brian's analysing Annan, Stirling Albion, ourselves, Elgin. Out of the squads there, I think Elgin's the one. I think he's right. Elgin's the one that we need to watch out for. They've got a bit of strength and depth there. I would argue so do we. It just didn't work for us on Saturday for some reason. But you're absolutely right, Cameron. It depends what we do now if we can kickstart another run. So it's all about the reaction, both from the players and the coaching staff. Brian was talking about Stirling Albion there. I went to Spartans last night and watched the Spartans Stirling Albion game, and it's quite funny. I walked into the ground 2 minutes before kick-off, found out that the pies weren't hot yet. So that's my first complaint of the night. Had to hang about until they heated them up. The woman refused to sell me a pie that was lukewarm. And I thought, God, she would have been hopeless at football in the 80s and 90s when you would buy a pie and it was like solid fat. As I was walking along behind the goal, Spartans missed a chance in about 8 seconds in. And as I was walking along the fence, Dougie Samuel was walking along, heading round his dugout, and I shouted over and said, that would have been quite some start. I know, known Dougie for years, and he's like, look at, all right, okay, it's you. You know, that would have been amazing, you know. Stirling Albion didn't lay a glove on Spartans last night. Spartans goalkeeper could have literally sat in a deck chair, reading a book, drinking a beer. He had one absolutely phenomenal save in the second half, and that was the only time he was called into action. It almost felt Stoke at both their goals, and it felt like a sort of, once they got one, it was never in any doubt. And the other one that I just wanted to mention, because we had a bit of debate last week about Marky Russell, come back to again, Mark wasn't getting a start for us. The form he was on, he probably wasn't going to get a start for us. He wanted game time. He's gone to Stirling. He's getting it. He played the whole game last night. And to be honest, it was very like what we've seen from him this season. It'd be really harsh to say he was anonymous, but he was just quiet. He wasn't the Mark Russell that we saw last season. Now, he might come on a game if he's getting more regular time for Stirling Albion, but no, he's really quiet. And I echo what Brian's saying. I think Stirling Albion have now played 2 games more than us. I don't see them as the main threat, although anything can change in this division. I think it's Stranraer, Elgin, and then just keep an eye on the other teams round about. But we need to kick-start again and just forget about Saturday, go back to doing the right things.
I'm going to have my turn sitting on the fence now, in that I think we've seen how League Two is, that it would be foolish to kind of rule anyone out or in, sort of thing. That
Agreed, to be fair.
if you had said at the 8 games in the first quarter played. Stranraer sitting on 2 points. If he had said, yeah, they'll only lose another couple of games between now and February, you would have thought, no, not a chance.
Off your head. Yeah.
It might seem unlikely, but I think every team's kind of got it in them to kind of put that run together. Equally, every team's got that in them to fall away, and it'll probably be the team that manages to kind of time this sprint finish right. Simply because, Lawrence, you had mentioned about kind of facts and figures, I thought I would bring this up. Last season, we finished 8th, 40 points from 36 games, so 1.11 points per game. Season before, finished 10th, stayed up with the playoff. I think it was 36 points, 36 games. I'm no mathematician, but 1 point per game. 2022-23, we finished 7th, 45 points, 1.25 points a game. And the season prior to that, 6th with 47 points, which is 1.3. I stopped there because, one, I've got a life. Two, because of COVID, changed the leagues, etc., and the number of games played. But currently, we've played 25 games. That puts us 4th, 33 points, which is 1.32. So we're on course for our best season post-COVID. Obviously, there's a lot of football to be played. We could win every game between now and the end of the season. We could lose every game between now and the end of the season, Brian. But it'd be fair to say where we are just now, and I think everyone is, but Stranraer fans should be very pleased with how the season's gone so far.
Especially after the first quarter, coming when we had 5 points. You know, you know what the Facebook was like, the supporters page. You know, everybody's doom and gloom. Oh, this team's going down into low in the league, blah blah. And I think we in the media knew there was something about this team. You know, it just wasn't clicking at the time. You know, and that win at Dumbarton just proved a point to everybody that was the turning point of the season. You know, and I mean, at the start of the season, if you said going into the last quarter, we'll be 4th. Anybody would have said, you're off your head. But done really, really well. And the players are off fit and healthy. Apart from maybe Robbie Foster, we've got really a full bench now, and Jordan Stewart, obviously. But other players seem to be fit and healthy, and if we can keep them fit and healthy, there's no reason why we can't get on and have a fantastic season.
Joining us tonight, we have 3 men who will need little introduction. We've got goalkeepers Max Currie and Lyndon Tas, and we've got goalkeeping coach Jim Lowe. Firstly, the 3 of you, welcome. How are we all doing?
Welcome. All good. All good.
All good as well.
All good this side as well.
Good. Jim, if we start with yourself, first of all, because obviously with the players, we tend to speak to them for like the Friday night preview, etc. We get a wee bit of a flavour of kind of who they are and how they ended up at Stranraer. Tell us about yourself in terms of your goalkeeping journey and how you ended up at Stair Park.
Scott Agnew. Obviously I worked with Aggie at Edinburgh, and I think he got the job on the Monday night. I think he was actually playing for East Fife on the Saturday. We'll not talk about the result. And obviously we stayed in touch, and I got a text message off him saying, I'd give you a call in the morning. So, which is quite strange because normally we just called or text each other. So I had a wee search in his social media, and obviously seen he was unveiled as a manager. So I thought I had an idea. At the time, I was working with Open Goal Broomhill, so I think there was only a few games left. So I think there was 3 games left. I think the first game I had with Stranraer was at Elgin at home, and we won. So I think we had to win 2 games out of the 3 so we didn't get into the playoffs. So that was it. So obviously I was at Airdrie for 5 seasons where I worked with Max, and before that I was at Clyde for a couple of seasons working under Barry Ferguson. So, and then before that I was in junior football with Blantyre Vicks, and I've had a few spells just helping out in ladies football.
Speaking for myself, as somebody with very little footballing talent, never been at a kind of first team training session or anything like that. What does a typical training session involve for the keepers, Jim?
Tuesday's their working night, so Lyndon had it off last night because he was involved with Hearts 18 with their semi-final. So Max, I've got, it's actually good this season. Actually having Max in because he's Stranraer's goalie. Because over the last few seasons, there's been a lot of loan keepers. You know, if you look at Lewis Budinakis, so there might have been some days on a Tuesday that might have been training with the Rangers first team. So you had to scale it back. You had to speak to the clubs that the boys are on loan from. You know, training is Tuesday night's a hard graft night. Thursday's a wee bit laid back. Probably the other coaches will say, "Oh, you stays two touch," but two touch is just to get the feet and the legs going. And obviously we've got to work more touch. Some dodgy pass backs, which the goalies have got to deal with. So they've got to have that touch.
In terms of yourself, Lyndon, obviously mentioned there about lone goalkeepers, etc. How does the training differ at Stranraer, where obviously you've literally only got 2 nights a week, couple hours? How does that differ to full time at Hearts?
I think it is quite similar. I'd say for me, obviously being full time at Hearts and being able to get two extra sessions with Stranraer is just a bonus because just more training, I think, is obviously going to help me get better. I think that's the biggest focus for me right now as I develop as a young goalie. So, but yeah, I wouldn't say there's too much difference. But obviously, any training that I do at Hearts or Stranraer, I enjoy as I always do, and because I'm getting better. So, but yeah, I'd say similar. But as I said, most important thing is helping me to improve each day.
For yourself, Max, as the more experienced of the two keepers, how has goalkeeper training evolved? How's it changed over the years that you've been involved?
Frozen
He's still called for training last night.
now.
I thought he was just very smiley.
I know.
Try to psych out the forward.
That's what he did on
Up there.
Saturday.
That's better.
Aye.
That's better.
In terms of training side of things, as in goalkeeping, it's no changed a lot. I've probably had to change how I work. I've probably noticed it over the last couple of seasons. We're getting a bit older that on a Tuesday my body is still a bit sore for the game on a Saturday. Maybe had to cut sets a bit, go a bit easier to start with. Obviously, as the session builds on, then as you said, Jim said that Tuesday is effectively your working night. But to start the session off, sometimes getting into it, I'm still a bit sore for the game at the weekend. So stuff like that is just maybe changed for me, just editing how I work. But as in terms of goalkeeping itself, then the fundamentals will always stay the same.
I wondered if there was a greater, not necessarily focus, because obviously at the end of the day, I imagine handling is the most important thing, but there's certainly more and more kind of demands on a keeper to be good with his feet. Does that take up more of training now?
I guess that's maybe just the style of the goalkeeper. Certainly, I think the higher up the levels you go, that's more emphasised. But I think more in Scottish football, certainly in the lower leagues, then I think teams mainly will still look just for the basics in a goalkeeper, as in how well can they save the ball. Do you know what I mean? So I can only speak for us in our league, and I can say that we don't really work on kicking too much and distribution a lot. It's more just the basics of goalkeeping.
What about yourself, Jim? Is it still first and foremost keep the ball out the net? Is that the most important thing?
That's the most important thing. Clean sheets gets you points. Don't get us wrong, we would love to in that position that the goalkeepers are starting attacks, but obviously you've seen a goal the other week. Maxie started the attack. But League One, League Two, even some championships, it is normally route one for the goalkeeper. So it would be amazing, for the goalkeepers to do it, but their main objective is keep the ball at the net. Let the strikers and midfielders do all the creative stuff. We're just the last line of defence, and to be lucky, the keepers that we've had in my time there, they've normally kept us in games. So it's been very, very good.
I'll come to all three of you here. Is there a greater understanding, whether it's players, pundits, coaches, fans, a greater understanding of the speciality role that is a goalkeeper, or is there still a bit of an attitude of the rubbish outfield players end up in goals?
Oh.
Max, I'll let you go first.
I certainly wouldn't say it was the rubbish outfield players on goals. You know, a goalie will always tell you it's a specialist position. And you know, as you've probably ever seen an outfielder win goal even for a mess about, you know what they're like. So no, I think to be a goalie, it's something that you need to have been brought up by. As I say, I don't think there's to everybody else, you know, it is just goal legs in goal. It's easy to save the ball, but I think when they're actually in goal, they'll tell you a different story.
What about yourself, Lyndon? Would you go along with that?
Being the goalkeeper is probably his position on the pitch. I think that says it all, really. I think many people will agree with that as well. It being probably the hardest position. So to have that responsibility and that leadership role, I think is obviously great to have.
Are you going to complete the goalkeepers union here, Jim?
Oh, 100%. It's like I said, we're the last line of defence, you know. An outfield players maybe lost the ball and so far up the park, and it ends up Maxie or Lyndon that's got to bail them out. So we are special.
That chip in a question for the keepers. Max, I'll come to you first, and you may automatically go towards Ibrox, but maybe not. I was just going to ask you, who was your role model as a keeper when you were a kid?
Do you know, Lawrence, as towards Ibrox, it was always been, when I was growing up, I loved watching Stefan Klos. He was a Rangers goalie at the time. Obviously retired, I think maybe 2007. I was still young at the time, but just that was my first memories of goalkeeping, really, going to Ibrox, and he was a goalie, and ever since then I always just took a liking to him.
And did you always play in goals as a kid, or what stage did you start specialising being a keeper?
So I was really young when I started playing, but I did start as a winger. But as I say, I moved into goalkeeping when I was maybe only 7 years old or something. Obviously with Blair, my brother, he was always a goalkeeper, and just you always want to do what your dad and your brother and that does. And as I say, Blair was at the time. Blair was playing in goals, and you know, you want to be what your brother is. So I moved into goalkeeping.
Cool. What about yourself, Lyndon? Any goalkeeping role models when you're a bit younger?
Well, I think for me, watching Courtois was a big one when he was at Chelsea, and the way he changed his game, obviously, when he went to Real Madrid after. But I think it's similar to Max for me as well. My brother used to be a goalkeeper. So growing up, it was like, I want to be like him and learn off him. And he's the one who really got me into it from a young age, probably about 7 years old as well. But yeah, quite similar as well.
Bit of food for thought there, Cameron. About Maxie, if Dom Plank gets injured on Saturday, if you can put him out in the wing for 10 minutes.
Very long.
Oh, I was going to ask that actually, in terms of, obviously, let's hope this doesn't happen, but the scenario where, I don't know, the two of you are sent off. It's a crazy game. The two of you are sent off. Who from the outfield crop do you reckon? I don't want to say could do a job in goals. Who would be the least bad? Let's go with that.
I think if I was on the park and it turned to it, I think I'd probably give the gloves to Beejay. You know that? I think if I was on the park, I think for me, if I was on the park, London would made all subs or vice versa. I think that I would probably, if I'm walking off, I'd give the gloves to Beejay.
Oh, no, I'm going to say, Beejay went on goals the other night. Put him the ring right. Bob was in the net and he was still diving. I'm going to say, I don't know, somebody. I think Big Reedy. Something about Big Reedy. I could see him being a goalie. Or else Sean Docko. Saying that he'd probably be like the monk out of Mean Machine.
Oh dear.
What about yourself, Lyndon? Have you seen any of the outfield players that you think they've got the makings of a keeper?
can't say I've seen it, but had it be anyone, I'd probably choose just Matty. Just give Matty the probably trust him to at least try to do the job. But I'm sure he'd give a good bash at it.
Just to go back to what you said at the start, Jim, and I didn't realise this until I was kind of preparing for tonight, that if you look at the keepers, you've been here 3 years, and you look at the
Aye.
keepers, Josh, Ewan, Max, Lyndon, Jacob, Harry, Robbie, Sam Kane, Mark McDonald, George O'Connor, Lewis Badenoukis, Andy Downey. Have I missed anyone out? You seem to have been
No, well,
a
I
fair
think
few.
I know. I think when I joined, there was 3 keepers. We had young Luke, who was playing. George O'Connor was just come back for injury, and I'm pretty sure there was maybe a third keeper who was in loan from Motherwell. And
Matty Connolly.
Matty Conley, but I never met him. So I think he was injured because obviously George sat on the bench for the 3 games Luke played, and then we gave George the last 20 minutes in the Dumbarton game because it was a dead rubber. I think he was come back for a hand injury, so that's how we were a wee bit
Broken thumb or
unsure.
something, I think.
Aye, it was something like that. Aye, so I've had that, and then obviously Big Judge came in, and we had George, and then Judge, I think he got a job, but he couldn't do Saturdays, so we had to then go. That's where we get Bud for Rangers, and then George he wanted to be playing, so he went to junior football, and then we brought in the wee legend, it's Andy Downey. So we brought Andy in at the full, great kid, honestly. So we had that, and then the start of last season, obviously everything worked out really, really well with Lewis. So we had Jacob, and then we had George. We had Harry Brown, 2 absolute great boys who would train really, really well. But, obviously the manager came in, we had to look at it. Fortunately, I was working with Hamilton, so we got Josh, and then obviously we had Sam Kane that came in for Queen's Park, 2 great boys. Actually looking at it, I was actually looking at my stats today when I was finishing up work, and I was, the clean sheets that the 2 boys pulled off last season, we never had that. It was really, really, really good. I think Josh gets 6 clean sheets in the running. Sam get 3, so good. Good kids, and obviously what happened with Hamilton, Josh had to get back. So, I've got Max back, and Max has got to testify to this. Ever since I joined the club, that's the keeper I wanted. So I'm glad that I've got him for a couple of seasons.
Well, that's what it tells me anyway.
I thought
Don't-
you're the
no.
only one, Jim, that we've been talking about the last couple of years. Max was like, what is it, the elephant in the room? We always thought maybe Max will be back at some point. So when actually you
Listen,
brought back Max, we were like, is it actually true?
Listen, Max and myself play golf together. We stay no far. We actually travel together, so we've been trying. Everybody we've tried. Aggie tried to get him. I've tried to get him. We tried to get him last year. But obviously, we was working with Fez at St Cadoc's, so we couldn't get him. But he's here now. He should have came this summer, but anyway. He's here, so we're all happy.
We spoke about this, Max, when we did the Back to the Bandstand, and we had said about the bugbears, kind of pet peeves, as it were, in terms of what pundits say. So I'm interested, again, for the 3 of you, what's your kind of pet peeve that so-called experts say, whether it's keeper shouldn't get beat at his near post, or keeper's got to come for that.
That's
What
not fair,
things do you
Cameron.
hear on TV, etc., and you're just like, they have no idea?
Cameron, that's no fair having a go at Brian Martin at this stage.
We drying out it.
Certainly the one for me, Cameron, or the biggest one is everything in the 6-yard box is a goalie's ball. anything in the 6 yard box with goalies, but that's the one that I always think to myself right away, you've not got a clue because that's utter nonsense. And it still comes out every so often.
Just writing that one down for Saturday. Hang on.
First cross into the box, that's the first thing Lawrence is saying.
What's the goalie?
Where is he? Where is he?
I think Max, that's what's been through it, Josh Lane, because we lost so many goals for corners. You know, everybody's saying, "Oh, Lane should have come out for that," blah blah. And I didn't agree with him at all. But you know, I think that's one of the problems they were saying. Josh Lane wasn't strong enough at corners. I don't know whether Jim would agree with that.
I think this season it was. Got to remember, Josh was young. Max is a wee bit more older and probably get 300 more games in them. And if the boys there, you know, if the goalie can come, it's already been proven this year since Max came in. If Max can come for the boys, going to come for it. But it's all about the communication with the defenders. I think they said, our back line, even the ones that are on the bench, are probably amongst the best defenders that I think that are in the league, if you look at it. But Josh, there's been many conversations, had with Josh. There was many conversations with his goalie coach, Ryan Marshall at Hamilton. It was something that we worked on. And you really can't, tough phase, wee Ginge and Gary will probably testify, we do all the work in training. It's up to the player on the park to do it. And the thing is, once something happens, it probably gets into his head a bit. I actually get sent a clip last night. Hamilton were playing Stennismuir, and the Stennismuir, it was like watching the Everton Man United game for last week, where every single player was on the goal line. And the guy sent me the clips like, "Oh, Josh is struggling." And I was like, "No, we're not struggling. There's about 14 men in the 6 yard, 3 yards out for the box." So it's just one of the things. Because last season, young Josh was brilliant, with the cross balls. I don't think anybody would have said anything with the cross balls. It's just this season, it was just a wee glitch. But at the end of the day, you've got to remember the saves that the young lad did for us and kept us in games as well.
Jim, can I ask you about that scenario where you've got a corner and you've got a goalkeeper and you've got half a dozen of the opponent's players round about you. As a goalkeeper, what are you looking then for the defenders to actually keep them out of the road? How do you cope with that, basically, I guess?
Well, they should be keeping them out of the road, but I've not got any quibbles with Max because he's got a voice on him, the boy, so he would let it known. A wee bit older and wiser, you'd probably see him go down. If it was a few years ago, you'd probably see Max try to come for them and go through them, but he's a wee bit older and wiser now, so it's one of the things. You've got to get. I think one of the things with Josh was he tried to, he would try to come for it, and you're going, "Don't come for it,"
Aye.
And it was just one of the ones. But I think there's a discussion into there now. The Liverpool manager says it's set pieces is ruining football, and it's just one of the things. But I've got trust in my goalies that they can deal with it. If they don't deal with it, then we'll go on with it, because no doubt they'll pull us out of a hat. They'll save us at the last minute somewhere else in the game.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Lyndon? Is there things that you hear on TV from, as I say, from so-called experts, pundits about goalkeepers that you just think they don't have a clue what they're talking about?
I think it's pretty simple for me with the near post one, to be honest. I feel like a lot of time they could obviously say about that and not realising how close or like how much power is on the strike, and just seeing it's gone near post and not really looking into the finer details. But yeah, I'd say just that one for me, just the near post has always been about and still is, in my opinion.
How does your relationship, Jim, work with the other coaches? Because I think people, and maybe this is right, maybe it's wrong, I don't know, people kind of picture training as the keepers and the goalkeeping coach go away to one side of the park, and then all the players do their other thing. How do you kind of feed into what's going on as well?
Um, I think every manager I've worked with, we're the coaching team. We always meet up early. We'll get a coffee. We'll talk about, a Tuesday. They'll probably talk about what happened in the game on the Saturday. We'll look at who we're going to be playing the following Saturday, and then we discuss training. I'm going to say, we Fez has come in, and his detail is absolutely been immense. The amount of detail it goes in, and obviously with Tiff and Ginge, the amount of experience you've got between they two, they let me go on it. So I just get my time skills. Normally I'll Monday, Tuesday, get my session together, because obviously I know, like I say, I've worked with Max before, and I know, what we need to work on. He keeps on saying, he's getting a wee bit older. He keeps on saying he's 39 instead of 29. I think that's just him trying to get lesser sets. So we work on it. Funnily enough, since Max's come in, we've not done any crossing in training. A Thursday we would always do a bit of crossing. The only crossing we work on is in the warm up before the game. So I think that tells you a lot about the goalkeeper. And it's the same with Lyndon. The game he played against Queen's Park, the Scottish Cup. He's come out for one, and it takes a lot of confidence in a young lad at 17, and the magnitude of the game. So crossing isn't something I've been working on, because we've got good keepers there. We don't need to work on that at the moment. Maybe that was something we maybe worked on too much with Josh, and getting his head a wee bit. Maybe, I don't know. But come back, Tiff and the management team letting me go on with it. For something I'm not happy about, they'll tell me. But so far, that's it. The only thing I'm worried about is the two-touch, but two touches at the start. Every goalkeeper, every club you go to, every goalkeeper does a two-touch.
The game at the weekend, Max, obviously there was the first half penalty. And again, if you're watching football at kind of a high level, you see the goalkeepers, they've got their water bottles and the notes with the penalty takers. Does that sort of thing exist at League Two level, or do you just kind of have a feeling of where they're going to put it?
No, so that does, Cameron. I must say, they'll give Jim and Finney's due. On Saturday before the game, they said to me that, was it Russell Dingwall that hit the penalty, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they said to me that his last penalty, albeit it was a couple of months ago, that he did go to the goalie's right. I had a rough idea the way he shaped up that I thought he was going to go there anyway, but then when it come back to it, they said he put it there previously. Then it kind of makes your decision easier. Do you know, if I go that way and he puts it the other side, then I think to myself, well, I did give myself the best chance possible going with the information that I've had and where he's put it previously. So I know stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of it being in the water bottle, wrote and stuff doing in that, because you know what it's like. The opposition players sometimes pick your drink up for a drink at corners and stuff like that. So just that before the game, since I've been there, as I say, Jim and Finn have given me that information before the games.
What about yourself, Lyndon? Obviously, it was the penalty shootout in the Queen's Park game, but I appreciate you joined kind of a matter of hours beforehand. Was there time for that sort of preparation, or did you just go with kind of where you thought they were going to put it?
I think I remember on the night Jim definitely went over where some of the players, I think four of their players, which way they'd go. But then obviously it's in the moment, it's like hard to sometimes remember. So that's, I think it's really important that obviously you get the focus levels, but I think just have that feeling and just when you just make your mind up and then go with that, and then obviously it paid out for the sixth penalty.
Just sticking with yourself, Lyndon, as well. I know Jim kind of mentioned it earlier. I think I'm right in saying you were on the bench last night, but got Scottish Youth Cup final to look forward to as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like obviously another great opportunity to have the opportunity to be involved and play at Hampden would be obviously something to remember. But yeah, I was really happy with the outcome of the game last night.
I think as well, Jim, that Lawrence wants to ask you a particular question involving a certain item, we'll say.
Nah, it was a joke, Jim. Remember the end of the East Kilbride playoff. I always make the
Yes.
joke that there was no danger you were letting that flag go at the end of the game. So, wee question for you: have you still got that playoff winner's flag hidden away somewhere?
Well, no, I've not actually. Because
Sleeps through that.
no,
Maybe.
actually no. It's in Scott Agnew's house somewhere because obviously when we finally left Stranraer,
Aye.
we went back to the gaffer's house for a party. So obviously his neighbours were absolutely buzzing with 25 boys getting off a bus. Don't get me wrong, the chairman, there were some committee members there as well, the physios. So yes, it's in Aggie's house somewhere. I think Lawrence probably threw it out. But yeah, it was that was ours. It was a good day, but a horrible day. It's somewhere a club in stature shouldn't be. We should be at the top end. We should be back in League One.
I was going to
Touch
ask you
wood.
about that. Some people might kind of see it as you're kind of celebrating finishing 10th, you're celebrating not going down. But equally, it was such an important day in the club's kind of modern history that it's totally understandable after a long season that there is that kind of outpouring, I guess.
Uh, that was a long season. If you get back to I think the first 8 games, we were unbeaten. We were up in the playoff, and then there was injuries, and so on, so on. But if you look at the other clubs that have went into the Lowland League, your Albion Rovers, Stirling's, Cowdenbeath, how hard is it? Berwick Rangers, these clubs haven't come back up. And obviously, spending part of a season in the Lowland with open goal, it's, it's, you don't want to, you don't want to be there. You want to be, because like I say, Stranraer, I've always remembered Stranraer being a League One side. So that's where we should be, touch wood. We keep the run going. Obviously, we get beat at the weekend, but we're going to bounce back for it. And we'll give it all. The next couple of games are quite important. And obviously, we've got East Kilbride coming back. Was that a week on Saturday? So Edinburgh and Dumbarton, there's got to be 2 hard games. Because obviously they're fighting for their lives as well. But I think there was more relief. Everybody, if you think about it, how many fans were there? About 2,000 that day.
Yeah.
It was some day, and you could see the emotion. I'm pretty sure the certain commentator made on to Sky News and so on. With his Lorraine Kelly jibe and Ali McCoist.
And can I say, John Hanna, Muriel Gray, Ali McCoist, Lorraine Kelly, Wally's roundabout, Kirsty Young, your boys took a half everything.
Spot on.
Aye, we don't want to be there again. It was the training, the amount of conversations between Aggie, Robbo, Peter, myself that week, it was horrible. Didn't sleep. So we don't want to be back there. Only ways up for the blue.
Hopefully the playoffs at the other end of the table come the end of the season.
Touch wood. It's got to be hard. There's a lot of teams there that are good. But the squad that we've got, the gaffer always says it. It's no, every player's got to play their part during this season. There's some players been out, didn't start the season, and now they're playing. There's some players, it's a squad game, and the squad that we've got are immense. You can see that with them. everybody's on together.
One other thing I wanted to look at, and partly because of who we're playing this weekend, but obviously Chris Aitken's first game as Stranraer manager was away to Edinburgh City. Before kind of the majority of the signings came in, Josh Lane, etc. So the team that day at Meadowbank was Pazikas, Cummins, Ross, McIntosh, Reid, Brindley, Gallagher, Dunlop, Russell, Hawkshaw and Guthrie. On the bench,
Wow.
it was Robertson, Ekrapont, Woods, McKnight, Matty Grant, Mo Adam, Ryan Edgar and Harry Brune. Fast forward to Saturday past there. Currie, Reid, McGrath, Dunn, Coll, McKnight, Plank, McManus, Gillis, Lang and Cleland. On the bench, Ekrapont, Docherty, Dolan, Quigg, Hughes, Hunter, O'Donnell, Touré and Tas. I'm not asking you to go through them kind of player by player, Lawrence, but do you think Chris Aitken's team now is better than Chris Aitken's team then?
Absolutely. Yeah, no sitting on the fence. Absolutely. And not only his team is better, but as we've said umpteen times in the last few weeks, his squad is better. So I know he can't quite change 11 for 11, but it wouldn't be far away. And I'd be relatively, I'd ask him what on earth's going on if he did that. But in terms of ability of the players, I'd be relatively happy with these players all getting a start. So there are players who are on the subs bench who are desperate to start, and actually I wouldn't necessarily be unhappy to see them start. I mean, you mentioned Jordan Stewart in passing there as one of the injured players. I'm just thinking, how much an impact could Jordan Stewart have had in a game like that one on Saturday, for example?
Yep.
Just to go to yourself, Brian, Lewis Reid is the only player to have played in that first game at Edinburgh City and the game at Elgin. Obviously, Kirk McKnight and Finn Ekrapont were unused subs in Chris's first game, and similarly, Ryan Edgar was injured for Saturday past. So there are still some players, it's not just the one. But again, a lot stronger looking now than we were when Chris first came to the club.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just listening to Ross and Reid were probably the centre-back partnership, which wasn't a bad centre-back partnership at all. But, I mean, it's night and day, to what we had. And that's when I think Edinburgh City were playing quite well at the time,
Yeah.
and that was quite a shock result. We went up there and beat them. But, it's night and day for the team we had when Chris first came in. And, we're talking about Chris just being there. I mean, Alan Hale's in nearly 3.5 years at Elgin. Chris, I think maybe a month short, a year and a half. So Alan Hale's really got 2 years in Chris, with that Elgin team. And I would say they're probably maybe third or fourth biggest budget in the league, Elgin. I would say behind East Kilbride and the Spartans. So I mean, Chris has done absolutely fantastic with the budget, which is probably still one of the lowest in the league. And what as I say, what he's done on that budget is, he's picked the players really, really well, to play in this League Two. And I think Jim Lowe touched it in the interview. It's really, really good to see.
Speaking of Edinburgh, and obviously this doesn't automatically mean that we will get the positive result that we're wanting this weekend, but 3 out of 4 trips to Edinburgh City under the manager. It's been a win. The other goalless draw and then a penalty shootout defeat. We go with a bit of confidence, Brian.
Absolutely. I mean, we seem to know how to play Edinburgh City on that park. It's been the same type of performance when Tiff's been in charge. Just somebody sitting back front of the back four. I'm quite sure he'll freshen it up on Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dolan coming back in. He's been out for the last couple of games. I think the park will probably suit him better. But I must admit, I do like Cleland and Lang up top. Darren's, he could be nearly on for 2 assists on Saturday if we had scored, the chance. And I do like, I do like them 2 up top. I think the good defence is quite a bit of a problem. I don't know, they don't know where to go to Cleland, they don't know where to go to Lang, so they do complement each other. But I think he'll freshen it up from Saturday. When if I see Quigg coming back into the starting lineup, that's my opinion. But we do seem to play well against them up there. Hopefully it continues on Saturday.
Edinburgh City, Lawrence, and I suppose this goes for just about every team in the division, but clearly a team with a lot to play for.
Aye, absolutely. Just to mention, it's not just Edinburgh City. We seem to do well at Spartans, so it must be a trip to Edinburgh thing.
Edinburgh.
Yeah, people are saying, right, we've lost on Saturday. We've got Edinburgh City, we've got Dumbarton, the two teams at the bottom. Neither of these games are going to be easy, straightforward. There's not one team. Yeah, there's 32 points between East Kilbride at the top and Edinburgh City at the bottom. Doesn't it feel like that when you play these teams? Every team has got to be. You've kind of got to beat every team before you can play football. And it rarely happens in League Two. All too often it's a bit like Saturday and the previous Saturday where both teams are scrabbling about for a winner with 5 minutes left. So the games will not be easy. Who knows what's going to happen? I think we can almost say, with the proviso that Cameron did earlier, that any team could win all the games, any team could lose all the games. I'm kind of tempted now that it's between Dumbarton and Edinburgh City at the bottom. And they're both desperate for points. And I'd be raging if they both beat us, but I wouldn't be absolutely shocked either. So, the players need to be on their mettle, basically is what I'm saying. I think the other thing we've got to mention, you touched on it there, Brian, about Dolan possibly coming back in. The pitch, and, I've got a hell of a lot of respect for the Stranraer groundsman. He's got the most thankless task in the world, given the amount of rain we get in the southwest of Scotland. But that pitch on Saturday, yeah, it's the same for both sides. But my God, it must have been hard to play constructive football on that on Saturday. As I say, no offence, there's a lot of work goes into that pitch. But what a difference coming to the Sufferers we're playing on this Saturday, Cameron.
Just in terms of Edinburgh City, Brian, they've kind of stumbled a wee bit as of late. Do you think it's difficult, the scenario that they've found themselves in, to try and keep that momentum week after week when you're trying to catch a team like that?
Yeah, they're another team that's far better away from home than they're at home. I think McIndoe's chopped and changed the defence, and he seems to make the defence worse. Since he left the big boy MacArthur go, who I thought was okay in the middle of that defence. I don't think he's been playing Quinn Mitchell regular. So I think he's brought Sula, and of course one of your old boys, McQueen, into the centre back partnership. So they've not got troubles to seek, and I think it's going to be a right bun fight between them and Dumbarton for bottom spot. But there's no doubt about it. The boy plays in the middle of the park, Zayed. He's their playmaker. I watched the highlights against Forfar. They came close 2 or 3 times, and he made absolutely everything. He was the boy who was running the show. So we've got to try and stop him on Saturday. Plus, Stokes is quite a good wee player. I think he's been playing in the left wing recently. But I think going by form, Stranraer should come out on top. But form goes out the wind in some League Two games. But hopefully it'll be true to form on Saturday.
Obviously, we spoke earlier about the left back position. We're saying about potential changes. Evan Dunn came off on Saturday. Does that open the door, Lawrence, for Sean Docherty, do you reckon?
It might. But both of these players were brought in by Tiff. It's not like an old guard player that he inherited. If you'd asked me at the start of the season, if you told me at the start of the season we'd be operating a lot of this season without Sean Docherty in the team, I'd have been disappointed, because I thought when he came in, joined us, was it last January? I thought he was a revelation. So I'd love to see Sean Docherty back playing. Evan Dunn, though, recent weeks has been decent. So again, it's like the left back position. It comes back to what I was saying. Tiff's got choices in each position, and that doesn't necessarily make his life any easier, because he's then got to make a choice, and then he's got to live with that choice and justify it. So I wouldn't be upset again. Sitting on the fence, if you like, be quite happy with either of those players at right back, Cameron.
I think it'd be fair to say, Brian, that whether it's Saturday or whether it's the midweek game, the team is going to be freshened up at some point.
Yeah.
The players that have maybe been a little bit frustrated on the sidelines, they're going to get that chance to come in and stake a claim.
I think you're right, Cam. We'll still stick with it with the middle three, Currie with the back three, Currie, Reid and McGrath. But I think he might change. He might bring the Dock in on Saturday, or he might just leave Dunn there. And I think he could chop and change the right and left back for Saturday on Tuesday. He'll definitely keep those 3 boys in the at the back three, but the right and left back could definitely change and get a bit of freshness. I think there's much to it about that. I don't know. I don't think Jordan Stewart will be fit to start either game because he tried his foot, didn't he? So I think he'll be out.
Train last week, Brian. I don't know if he's trained this week, but he didn't train last week, so I doubt it.
Yeah. Yeah,
the one encouraging thing on Saturday, whatever the result was, that Sal was on the subs bench.
Yeah.
Don't know quite where he is in terms of match fitness, but it's encouraging that he's there, and I'd love to see him, even if it was coming on for 20 minutes in one of these games.
Yeah.
As we said, Brian, pretty much throughout the show tonight, that it would be the perfect response, obviously, to go and get a result. Obviously, one loss in however many games looks a lot better than back-to-back defeats.
Yeah, I mean, you can't win every game of football. I mean, you can try, but you don't win every game. So, I mean, Saturday to me was just a hiccup. We got back in the horse on Saturday, and play to our full potential. And I mean, these two games coming up, and Gretna have got East Kilbride and Annan away. I would far rather have. I know what we're talking, but I think I would rather have Edinburgh and Dumbarton as East Kilbride and Annan. So we've got a great chance to kick on. I know nothing's certain in football, but I think we've got a great chance to kick on. These next couple of games, and I'm quite sure the players are looking at it and say, right, we've had a blip on Saturday, and if we get 4 or 6 points with the next two games, it puts us in a good position.
I think substitutions might be key in both our games. I come back to how strong our overall squad is, and I think a lot of the results kind of depend up to a point on use of substitutions in the second half. When we're able to bring on players who are pretty strong against, other teams have got big squads, but I think our squad is now one of the stronger ones. I think we talked about that last week, where other teams, I think it was you, Cameron, said that other teams might have a stronger 1-11 at times, the top two teams, for example, but we're able to change games better. So I think a lot of it may come down to use of substitutes.
And just lastly, Lawrence, for yourself, I imagine this is one of the games you look forward to. No 9 a.m. start. Is it strolling out the house at 2 p.m. for yourself on Saturday?
Nah, I like a good Saturday with a road trip, to be honest. And Meadowbank, if you'd asked me a year ago, I would have said Meadowbank was arguably my least favourite ground in League Two. I think there's something going on in my mind, the fact that I associate it with 3 points now. So, touch wood, might be the same again this weekend. So, you're right, I'll be home in time for tea.
So there you have it. Whether you're travelling from just a couple of miles away or a couple of 100 miles, if you can get along to Meadowbank to cheer on Stranraer, so much the better. And fingers crossed we're sitting talking about 3 points. Thanks for joining us.